Hello students, I am Poonam Mistry. Welcome to my YouTube channel. As we have already studied in first part about resources and development, so let's continue with second part, that is land resources. As we all know that land is a natural resource, right? Oh, let's start reading about land resources. We live on land, we perform our economic activities on land, and we use it in different ways. As land is a natural resource, of course, we live on land. Each and every activity is done on land. Here also it is written that land is a natural resource of utmost importance. It supports natural vegetation. As I have said that each and every activity is done on land. So here the natural vegetation is supported by land. Wildlife, human life, economic activities is done on land. Even transport and communication system is also done through land. However, land is an asset of a finite magnitude. Without land, nothing is possible, right? Therefore, it is important to use the available land for various purposes with careful planning. But, students, you can see that there are many land areas which are not used by the people. We can say that they are the barren land or the wasteland, right? India has land under a variety of relief features, namely now, as we know that we are having enough amount of land, but that land is not directly used like as a flat land, right? There are many different types of land forms. Now we will see about it, that is mountains, plateaus, plains and islands. Land is available in the form of mountains, it is available in the form of plateaus, that is high level of land, then plain area where we can grow crops, and the islands. And what are islands? You know already about it, right? About 43% of the land area is plain area. It means that in 43% of the land area we can do cultivation. Plain area is there, so cultivation is done there, right? Which provides facilities for agriculture and industries. Industries can be set up on such land. Mountains account for 30% of the total surface area of the country and ensure perennial flow of some rivers, and the percent of mountainous area is 30%. And through mountains we can see that perennial rivers flow through such mountains, right? Perennial rivers are those rivers which flows throughout the year, and it provides facilities for tourism. We can give an example of northern part of our country, which is full of mountainous areas and ecological aspects. About 27% of the area of the country is the plateau region, that is the high level of land. It possesses rich reserves of minerals. Now, in this plateau region, what we will found is the rich reserves of minerals, fossil fuels, and forest. This high level of land comprises of minerals, fossil fuels, and the forest areas. Okay. Here the pie chart is also given, in that the same thing is given, that 43% of land is plain, 27% is plateaus, and 30% is mountain region. Okay. Now, how the land is being utilized, that we are going to study in this topic, that is land utilization. Land resources are used for the following purposes. First is forest. The land which is available is used in terms of forest area, right? And forest is such a thing which grows naturally. By growing forest, it is not like that कि human being का interference नहीं है इसमें, right? Means human beings does not interfere in terms of forest. It is grown naturally. Okay, second one is land not available for cultivation. Means we are having enough amount of land but we are not using it. That is, first is barren and wasteland. We are not using it. It is just kept like that only, right? Wasteland we can say. It is not used anywhere, so it is a wasteland. Land put to non-agricultural uses means we are having that land in which we can do cultivation, but instead of cultivation, that land is used by us in the form of industries, roads, factories, buildings. Means we are constructing their factories, roads, and any other thing. Okay. Third is other uncultivated land, that is permanent pastures and grazing land used as a pasture land or for grazing animals. They use this land for grazing animals. Okay. Second is land under miscellaneous tree crops grows, not included in net zone area, that is small amount of shrubs we can say or small crops grow there. And third is cultivable wasteland. It means that it is the waste land that is not used for more than 5 agriculture years. It means that that land is available for cultivation, but we have not used that land for more than 5 years. So that will be cultivable wasteland. Fourth one is fallow land. Fallow land, in that first one is current fallow, that is left without cultivation for one or less than one agriculture. Fallow land means it can be used, but this here current fallow land means we are not using it for cultivation for one or less than 1 year, that is current fallow land. And second is other than current fallow land, that is left uncultivated for the past 1 to 5 agriculture years, that will be known as other than current fallow land. Current fallow means it is left uncultivated for 1 or less than 1 year, and other than current fallow land means it is left uncultivated for more than 1 to 5 years. Next is net zone area. See students, this is important. It can be asked for 1 mark, that what do you mean by net zone area? Net zone area means area sown where we are growing the crops. Total area where we have already grown the crops. Area sown more than once in an agricultural year plus net sown area is known as gross cropped area. Now, for example, there is one square, and in that square, in small amount of area, we have grown some crops. Okay. So it means that the square which is available, we have not utilized the whole square for growing the crops. We have just used a small amount of area in which we have grown the crops. So that is known as area sown, where we have grown, right? In an agriculture year, plus net sown area, that is the total amount of area we have used to sow the crops, is known as gross cropped area. So in this land utilization, we have studied 5 points. That first is land used for forest, second land not available for cultivation, that is barren and waste land, we are not using it for cultivation, but second point here is it is used for non-agriculture purposes like buildings, roads, factories and all. Third, we have seen that other uncultivated land used for pasture land and used for grazing of animals. And in that second, we have seen that land under miscellaneous tree crops grow, means it is not included in net grown area. Why we have not included in net zone area? Because the crops or the small shrubs or herbs which are grown, that are very small and it is not used anywhere. And third is cultivable wasteland, which is left uncultivated for more than 5 years. And the fourth point, we have seen about the fallow land. In that we have seen 2 parts, that is current fallow, and second one was other than current fallow. In current fallow, it is left without cultivation for more than 1 year, and in other than current fallow, we have seen it is left uncultivated for more than 1 to 5 years. And last, we have seen about net zone area. Okay. Next is land use pattern in India. Now, the use of land is determined both by physical factors such as topography, that is the characteristics. Now, before sowing any crop, we have to see that which type of land it is, right? Some factors are necessary before sowing or before cultivating any crop. So that is topography. Even after seeing the type of land, we have to think about the climate of that area, right? Then we have to see which type of soil it is, as well as human factors. Now after seeing three factors like topography, that is characteristics, which type of land is this, then we'll see about the climate, that this area has which type of climate, and after that we'll see that which type of soil it is. The next thing we will see is the population density, that how much population lives here, means how much people live here. Technological capability, of course, after seeing that how much people resides here, we will see that the technology which is available here, accordingly we will grow the crop and the culture and tradition. If suppose we can take an example of South India, if we grow wheat in southern India, and after seeing the population and after seeing the culture and tradition, we will come to know that the people who consume wheat is very less as compared to the people who consume rice, because we know that in southern India most of the people consume rice and rice items, right? So we have to see the culture and tradition, we have to see the technology used, we have to see the population density also. Total geographical area of India is 3.28 million square kilometer, right? Land use data, however, it is available only for 93% of the total area, because the land use reporting for most of the northeast states except Assam has not been done fully. Means we are having enough land. In short, what they are saying, that we are having enough land but we are not utilizing it properly. Moreover, some areas of Jammu and Kashmir occupied by Pakistan and China have also not been settled. Means there are some areas or there are some land which people don't know that this is the land where we can also grow crop. It means here also they have given example of Jammu and Kashmir. The land of Jammu and Kashmir which is occupied by Pakistan and China, it has not been surveyed that this land is also can be used for cultivation, right? So we have to do proper planning of how to use the land, and first of all we have to find out there where the proper land is available. Okay, let's go ahead. Here again one pie chart is given, that is about the forest area, means about the land use pattern only, that how much percent of land is used as forest, barren and wasteland, that you will see here, right? The land under permanent pasture has also decreased. Those land which were used as pastures, it has also been decreased. How are we able to feed a huge cattle population if pasture land and grazing land has decreased? Then how it will be possible for a cattle population, how we will feed them on this pasture land, and what are the consequences of why this happened, what happened to that pastures land? You can imagine that those pastures land which were used for grazing of animals and for feeding of cattle, those land are being used for construction like industries or any other thing. Most of the other than the current fallow land are either of poor quality. Now current fallow land means those land which are not used for 1 or less than 1 year. So that land is of poor quality, or the cost of cultivation of land is such very high that we can't cultivate their crop. Hence, these lands are cultivated once or twice in about 2 to 3 years. So, instead of growing, the cost of cultivation is only high there. And if these are included in net sown area, then percentage of NSA, that is net sown area, in India comes to about 54% of the total reporting area. It means that if we use that land properly, then it will be considered, it will be included in net sown area. But after 2 to 3 years again we will grow that crop once, then the net sown area will also decrease. The pattern of net sown area varies greatly from one state to another. Of course, the production which is done in Punjab and Haryana, it is not necessary that it is done in all the states, right? The same production is not done in each and every state. It is over 80% of the total area in Punjab and Haryana and less than 10% in Arunachal Pradesh. See, here they have given the total net sown area, means the amount of crops that we sow or that we grow in Punjab and Haryana is 80%, but in Arunachal Pradesh it is just 10%. Not only in Arunachal Pradesh but in Mizoram, Manipur and Andaman Nicobar Islands, we can see that Arunachal Pradesh have less population density and these are smaller states, right? Forest area in the country is far lower than the desired 33% of geographical area. Forested area, in earlier times there were huge amount of forest and we were able to see many forested area, but nowadays forests have been cut. It means that deforestation is increasing. And why this deforestation is increasing? What they are doing? After cutting down the forests, they have started constructing the industries, buildings. It is just because of human greediness. And it is lower than the desired 33% of geographical area, and it was outlined in the National Forest Policy in 1952 that less than 33% of the land is used as a forested area. It was considered essential for the maintenance of ecological balance, but this 33% is very less. If you want to maintain the ecological balance, means here in this biosphere which contains human beings, living organisms and each and everything, for that forests are necessary. The livelihood of millions of people who live on the fringes of this forest, there are many people who live in such forest only. In 8th and 9th standard we have studied about this, that many people were rehabilitated from this forested area. Means many people are dependent on such forest. Their livelihood depend on such forest only. A part of the land is termed as wasteland and land put to other non-agricultural uses. Wasteland includes rocky, arid. Now wasteland, that we have already studied, that wasteland is that land which is rocky, arid and deserted area where we can't cultivate any crop, and land put to other non-agricultural uses includes. And we have studied about non-agricultural land, that is non-agriculture uses means where we have constructed roads, railways, industries and so on. Continuous use of land over a long period of time without taking appropriate measures to conserve and manage has resulted in land degradation. If on the same particular land, if we will continue growing crops on the same land for more than 5 to 10 years, then it is possible that land is going to degrade. And if this will continue, then it is not possible for the land resources to be conserved. This in turn has serious repercussions, means serious problems, or we can say the effects of it will be very harmful to us, on the society and also on the environment. Okay, the next topic is land degradation and conservation measures, that how lands get degraded and what are the steps to be conserved for protecting our land. Here it is given. We have shared our land with the past generation and we will have to do it with the future generation also. We have already shared our land with the past generation. In present we are using it, and in future the future generation is going to use it. So 95% of our basic needs for food, shelter and clothing of the earth is totally dependent. The soil is a living system. It takes millions of years to form soil up to a few centimeters in depth. Of course, this soil on which we grow the crop, this is also a living system, and it takes millions of years to form soil. This you have studied before also, and in science also you must have studied in detail about the formation of soil. The main factors including relief, parent rock or bedrock, climate, vegetation and other forms of life and time are important factors in the formation of soil. You must be knowing about the types of rocks, igneous, sedimentary, and because of that how the soil is formed. Various forces of nature such as change in temperature, actions of running water. When we give example of alluvial soil, how it is formed, then while the rivers are flowing, the deposits which we called it as alluvium deposits, जहाँ पे deposit हो जाता है तो that soil is considered as alluvial soil, right? Various forces of nature such as change in temperature, actions of running water, wind and glaciers, activities of decomposers contribute to the formation of soil. Sometimes it is possible that because of wind, it is possible that the top layer of the soil या तो जो भी deposits है it moves from one place to another. Even the chemical and organic changes takes place in the soil are equally important. Soil also consists of organic and inorganic materials like humus and dung and everything. On the basis of factors responsible for soil formation, color, thickness. Now, how we will recognize that which type of soil it is? So, they have given that how the soil is formed. On the basis of that, we can come to know the color, thickness, texture, age, chemical and physical properties. The soils of India can be classified in different types. Now we will see the classification of soils into different types. Now as we all know that India has varied relief features, right? Each and every part of India is not same. There are differences. If we give an example of Jammu and Kashmir and Gujarat, right? Then Jammu and Kashmir is such a state where we can observe that there is very cold, right? It is a very cool area. But on the other part, when we talk about Gujarat, it is not like that, right? In Gujarat we can see the temperature is very high, but in Jammu and Kashmir we can see that temperature is not so high, it is too cold there. So there are different features. Landforms, that is plateaus, plains, mountains, islands. Climatic realms, that is climatic conditions, and vegetation types. It depends on the climate that which type of vegetation will grow where. This have contributed in the development of various types of soil. Because of this we can classify into different types of soil. First is alluvial soil, that I have told you right now only, that this is the most widely spread and important soil. In fact, the entire northern plains are made of alluvial soil. Why northern plains are made up of alluvial soil? It is just because from northern part many rivers flow, and why that rivers flow? Because of the mountainous region. We know that when the glaciers melt, it will form the rivers, and while rivers will flow, of course it will contain some alluvium deposits, right? This have been deposited by three important Himalayan river system, and it is formed into three parts, that is the Indus, the Ganga and the Brahmaputra. This soil extends in Rajasthan and Gujarat through a narrow corridor. Alluvial soil is also found in the eastern coastal plain, particularly in the deltas of Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri rivers. So they have talked about the alluvial soil, that alluvial soil is found in this part in the deltas of Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri river. Now about this soil, that alluvial soil consists of what? Then it consists of various proportion of sand, silt and clay. As we move inland toward the river valleys, soil particles appear somewhat bigger in size. मतलब जैसे जैसे हम रिवर वैलीज के अंदर जाएंगे, जितना डीप जाएंगे, वी विल सी दैट सॉइल पार्टिकल्स, जो सॉइल पार्टिकल्स होते हैं, इट अपीयर्स समवट बिगर इन साइज. In the upper reaches of the river valley, that is near the place of break of slope, जहाँ पे स्लोपी एरिया आता है, जहाँ पे स्लोप्स आते हैं, वहाँ पे the soils are coarse. coarse particles, matlab not so big, not so small. Such small soils are more common in piedmont plains such as Tours, Kos and Terai region. These are the types of region which are given here. Apart from the size of their grains or components, soils are also described on the basis of their age, that we have studied in 9th standard also in detail. According to their age, alluvial soil can be classified as old alluvial, that is known as Bangar, new alluvial soil, that is known as Khadar. The Bangar soil has high concentration of kankar because it is old than the Khadar, but Khadar is a new alluvial soil, right? It has more fine particles and is more fertile. Now if you want to compare between Khadar and Bangar, then when you will grow the crop, you will come to know that in this Khadar soil, crops will be grown easily because the fertility of the land is more in Khadar, right? Alluvial soils as a whole are very fertile, but in actual, alluvial soil is already fertile soil. Mostly these soils contain adequate proportion of potash, phosphoric acid and lime, which are ideal for the growth of sugarcane, and because of this proportion of potash, phosphoric acid and lime, the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat and other cereals and pulses can be grown here on such alluvial soil. Due to its high fertility, regions of alluvial soil are intensely cultivated and densely populated, right? Of course, people will prefer to stay there where the fertility of the soil is more. I am talking about the farmer, right? Farmer will prefer to stay in such area where the fertility of the soil is more, so that they can cultivate their soils, right? Cultivate their crops, right? Soils in the drier area are more alkaline and can be productive after proper treatment and irrigation. Okay, soils in the drier areas we can see are more alkaline and can be productive after proper treatment and irrigation. Means the land area which is not proper, so after producing it properly, like after treatment of, like we can do it by chemical treatment and so, or through irrigation purposes also we can grow crops there. Next comes black soil. These black soils are black in color, as the name suggests that black soil is black in color and are also known as regular soil. Black soil is ideal for growing cotton and is also known as black cotton soil. It is believed that climatic condition along with the parent rock material are the important factors for the formation of black soil. While forming black soil, it is believed that climatic condition is very important here and the parent rock material. These both are the important factors for the formation of black soil, and this type of soil is a typical of the Deccan Trap region spread over northwest Deccan Plateau and is made up of lava flows. Here you can see in the image given below that how the black soil is formed because of the lava flows. See, they cover the plateaus of Maharashtra, means this type of soil can be seen in Maharashtra, Saurashtra, Malwa, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and extend in the southeast direction along the Godavari and the Krishna valleys. The black soils are made of extremely fine, that is clay material. These black soils are of good quality, right? They are well known for their capacity to hold moisture. The main thing here of black soil is they have enough capacity to hold the moisture. In addition, they are rich in soil nutrients also, such as calcium carbonate, magnesium, potash and lime. As we have seen that in alluvial soil also there were some nutrients which were in rich quantity. Here also the same thing. These soils are generally poor in phosphoric. Phosphoric was there in alluvial soil, but it is poor in black soil. They develop deep cracks during hot weather, as you can see in the picture that was given below, right? They develop cracks during hot weather, which helps in the proper aeration of the soil, and because of hot weather cracks are developed, right? These soils are sticky when wet and difficult to work on unless tilled immediately after the first shower or during the pre-monsoon period. These soils are always almost sticky only when it is wet, and it is very difficult to work on unless tilled immediately. Means when the first shower appears, you have to till it, means you have to remove it properly fast. Next comes the red and yellow soil. Red soil develops on crystalline igneous rocks in areas of low rainfall in the eastern and southern parts of the Deccan Plateau. Yellow and red soils are also found in parts of Orissa, Chhattisgarh, southern parts of the Middle Ganga plain, and along the Piedmont zone of the Western Ghats. Okay, it is formed in such areas where there is low rainfall and in the Western Ghats. These soils develop a reddish color due to diffusion of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rocks. It looks yellow when it occurs in hydrated form. See, means the color of it is sometimes red, sometimes yellow. Next comes the laterite soil. It is already derived from the Latin word that is later, which means break. The laterite soil develops in areas with high temperature. This soil is developed in high temperature and heavy rainfall. You have to remember that laterite soil is developed in such areas where there is high temperature and also heavy rainfall. This is a result of intense leaching due to heavy rain. Leaching, you know what, कीचड़ जैसा हम बोलते हैं, because of heavy rainfall कीचड़ जैसा हो जाता है, that is leaching. Humus content of the soil is low because most of the microorganisms, particularly the decomposers like bacteria, get destroyed. Why they get destroyed? It is just because of the high temperature. Of course, they can't survive in such high temperature. Laterite soils are suitable for cultivation with adequate doses of manure. So, if you want to cultivate on such land, you have to add doses of manures and fertilizers is necessary. These soils are mainly found in Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh and the hilly areas of Orissa and Assam. After adopting appropriate soil conservation techniques, particularly in the hilly areas of Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, this soil is very useful for growing tea and coffee. If you want to grow tea and coffee in laterite soil, what you need to do is you have to adopt appropriate soil conservation techniques, then only it is possible. Red laterite soil in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Kerala are more suitable for crops like cashew nut. If you want to grow cashew nut, then in southern part red laterite soil is suitable for growing it. Next comes arid soil. As the name suggests, arid soil means in the desert area we can find such type of soil, right? It is red to brown in color, means almost red and brown in color. They are generally sandy in texture and saline in nature. It will be sandy, it will be a dry soil, right? In some areas the salt content is very high and the common salt is obtained by evaporating the water, and because of this soil we can also obtain in salt, right? Due to dry climate, high temperature, evaporation is faster and the soil lacks humus and moisture. In Gujarat it is done, we can make the salt by evaporating it, right? The lower horizons of the soil are occupied by kankar because of the increasing calcium content. Kankar, small nodules we can see. The kankar layer formation in the bottom horizons restrict the infiltration of water. जो कांकर अपर लेयर के पास होगा उसके वजह से फिल्ट्रेशन प्रोसेस जो है वो इजीली नहीं हो पाएगा. आफ्टर प्रॉपर इरिगेशन दिस सॉइल बिकम कल्टिवेबल एज हैज़ बीन इन द केस ऑफ वेस्टर्न राजस्थान. डेजर्टेड एरिया में हम एरिड सॉइल तो फाइंड कर सकते हैं एंड इवन ड्यू टू दैट वी कैन फॉर्म सॉल्ट ऑल्सो. नेक्स्ट इज द फॉरेस्ट सॉइल, राइट? These soils are found in the hilly and mountainous area. Forest soil means those soil which are found in the forest area and mountainous area. Hilly areas we can see where sufficient rainforest are available, and where there are forests, of course it is possible that rainfall will be more there. The soil texture varies according to the mountain environment where they are formed. Of course the texture of the soil will be different because it will depend on the type of the mountain. They are loamy and silty in valley sides. Why loamy and silty on the valley side? Because in valley areas, river water will be flowing, and coarse grained in the upper slope, because in upper side deposits will be there, but on the slopy land what will happen is, because of the loamy soil, because of the loamy area, the amount of deposits will be less there. In the snow covered areas of Himalayas, of course we know that top layer will be covered with snow only. These soils experienced inundation and are acidic with low humus content. The soils found in the lower parts of the valleys, particularly on the river terraces and alluvial fans, are fertile. Means there are some parts which are fertile, and mostly slopy part will not be much fertile. Okay. So we have studied about the different types of soil, but now we will study that how soil gets eroded and the ways how we can conserve the soil. The denudation of the soil cover and subsequent washing down. Denudation of the soil means what? The degradation of soil. How the soil is getting degraded, and subsequent washing down is described as soil erosion. Now, how soil gets eroded? Because of the soil cover, the upper layer of the soil is washed away by wind or water. So the process of soil formation and erosion goes on simultaneously. How soil will be formed? If we take an example of alluvial soil, if rivers are flowing, then with the rivers flowing we can see the alluvium deposit, so we can say that soil is formed there. But if rainfall appears or the wind blows, then the top layer of the soil is removed and it is washed away, right? So it goes on simultaneously, and generally there is a balance between the two. Sometimes this balance is disturbed due to human activities, but because of human activities like deforestation, they cut the forest, overgrazing of animals, because of overgrazing of animals also the soil gets degraded, and even due to construction and mining the soil gets degraded. When natural forces like wind, glacier and water lead to soil erosion, that I have already said. The running water cuts through the clayey soils and make deep channels. Now the running water which cuts through the clayey soils, it makes deep channels as gullies, right? The land becomes unfit for cultivation and is known as bad land. Now this land where continuously water will flow, it will become unfit for cultivation, and we will say that it will be a bad land. Why bad land? Because we know that for the growth of crops, of course water is necessary, but to a particular extent. If more and more water will flow, then that soil can't retain its fertility, right? In Chambal Basin, such lands are called ravines. Means bad land को ravines भी बोलते हैं. Sometimes water flows as a sheet, like पूरा साथ में over large area down the slope. Slope में जब waterfall होगा, like together, in such cases the top soil is washed away. Of course, जब slopey area से अगर वो flow होगा, तो top soil is washed away, and so this is known as sheet erosion. Wind blows loose soil of flat or sloping land known as wind erosion. अब wind erosion क्या है? Soil erosion we have seen that due to washing away by wind or water, the top layer of the soil is washed away, right? That is soil erosion. Sorry, that is not soil erosion, but soil gets eroded because of this. And wind erosion means what? If water is flowing from a slopey area, or if wind blows and if top layer of the soil is removed, then we can say that wind erosion took place. Soil erosion is also caused due to defective methods of farming. If we use more chemicals and fertilizers, and it is possible that soil gets eroded. Plowing in a wrong way, that is up and down the slope, from channels for the quick flow of water, leading to soil erosion. If we do not plow in a proper way, then also it is possible that soil erosion may take place. Plowing along the contour lines. Contour plowing, you must be knowing it, can de-accelerate the flow of water down the slopes. This is called contour plowing. Contour plowing, plowing in steps. Steps can be cut out on the slopes, making terraces. Terrace farming where we can grow tea, coffee, right? Terrace cultivation restricts erosion. If we do cultivation in such terrace type of farming, then it is possible that erosion does not take place because water will flow down easily. Western and central Himalayas have well developed terrace farming. Large fields can be divided into strips. You know what we can do is we can make a strip, and between two there will be space so that water can flow through that. Large fields can be divided into strips, so strips of grasses are left. We can give an example of sugar cane, right? In sugar cane they have made strips only, so strips, whole strip is there, then between two strips there are spaces so that water will flow away easily, right? Strips of grass are left to grow between the crops. This breaks up the force of the wind. Even while growing sugarcane or any other crop, what they do is between two crops they grow the grass so that water will not go into that crop more, right? This method is known as strip cropping. Planting line of trees to create shelter also works in a similar way. Planting lines of trees means if we grow the crop and surrounding it we can grow the trees. Rows of such trees are called shelter belts, means in between we can grow our main crop and at the side we can grow trees, that will be known as shelter belts. These shelter belts have contributed significantly to the stabilization of sand dunes, and due to shelter belts what happens is sand dunes जो है वो स्टेबलाइज हो जाएंगे और वो सॉइल के टॉप लेयर को खींच नहीं सकते. And in stabilizing the desert in western India also, it can also stabilize the desert in western India. So that was the soil conservation technique that we have seen, and with this our chapter is also completed. Now if you have any doubt you can ask me personally, and if you really enjoyed watching my video then please do like and share my video. Thank you.